Uh, the scene in the Nightfall story arc in the comic books where Batman gets his back broke by Bane, and that was around Bane's introduction, and it was it was nice to see that happen, and of course Bane just whipping Batman's ass and breaking his mask, and then in the trailers, and then not much in the movie, but in the trailers you see Bane holding a piece of Batman's mask and kind of looking at it and tossing it away. And of course, Bruce Wayne is held captive in this pit, which again they bring the story arc around again when it comes to Bane's origins, and but they put it with a little tweak, and Bruce Wayne's trying to get himself rehabilitated and get back to Gotham. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, at the end of the film, he's found out he's got the nickname Robin, which I would have preferred if they just went ahead and called him Richard and made him Dick Grayson. It would have been fine with me. You didn't have to use him in the comics. Dick Grayson did become a cop, and just so he can get more intel. So I mean that still could have been work, but they gave him. He played another character, but he was the Robin substitute in this. Again, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman playing their parts extremely well. They were more prominent in the previous film, in Dark Knight, when it came to their films, and they were really, on par. They weren't utilized as much in this film, but when it came to who ended up being the main villain the whole time, the one pulling the strings, it was Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia al Ghul. Cannot remember the actress's name right now at the moment, but it took me off guard. I didn't expect that, and I like that. I like the fact that she won Bruce's affection, and it ended up not being it was all masquerade. Again, wearing masks, dual identities. Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. Anne Hathaway is an amazing actress. She can do comedy. She can do drama. Her Catwoman was everybody. Just recently, they did a poll, and in my opinion, my favorite Catwoman was Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michelle Pfeiffer is still on top of that list. And then there's Julie Newbar and Anne Hathaway's. I haven't seen Zoe Kravitz yet, so we have to, the judgment is still holding on that. So we're going to have to wait. But Anne Hathaway, she looked good. They didn't call her Catwoman directly in this film. It was Selena Kyle. I love the fact that her night vision goggles could go up and then have the cat ear type of beret. That looked good. The fact that she was more of a mischievous cat. She was a con artist. She was a thief. And they really stuck with the origins of this character. And the way she was trying to basically get a clean slate and move on with her life, but yet she was her and Christian Bale's they really worked well together in this film. Some people thought it didn't work, but I saw some decent chemistry in that. There was a love-hate relationship between these two characters, which was always common in the comics. But I do like the fact that she was dancing with him, and then he was trying to go back to his car, and then find out she picked his pockets. She picked Bruce Wayne's pocket to get his keys. Batman, she got one over on Batman, and I love the scene where Alfred is teasing him and ribbing him for basically getting tricked and played by Selena Kyle. It's a cute little scene with exchange between Alfred and but again everything kind of comes full circle. Batman, again, at the end, saves the day from the city being destroyed by this giant atomic or fusion bomb. Uh, Again, the performances that really stuck out in this film, Matthew Modine, who played a character that was in this film, his character stuck out as very. Matthew Modine's a great actor. He was more noticed in the '80s and the early '90s when it came to his acting uh, roles, but he did a really great job playing. I can't remember the name of the character he played, but he played a really solid character. And of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, really, he was I think the MVP of the Dark Knight Rises. His character Burke was just really spot on. Again, I would have preferred if they had just called him Richard or Grayson or something like that. But at the end, when he's been giving the stuff when they thought Batman and Bruce Wayne had died. Spoiler alert, folks, but he doesn't. But he's given the fortune, Bruce Wayne's fortune and stuff and everything. His will's being carried out. The lady who's handing Joseph Levitt the stuff and everything. She goes, "I like your real name, Robin." Right there, and then of course he was basically handed some coordinates and some stuff, and he was handed the Batcave. At the end of the film, you see Alfred, at a little restaurant and everything. It was something that he touched base on earlier in the film about how he wished or hoped that while Bruce Wayne was gone, that Bruce Wayne had carried on and moved on in his life. But when it came to this scene, it comes back full circle. This time he sees that Bruce had survived, and that he kind of nods at him, and you see that a woman that's sitting in front of him is Selena Kyle, and that he has moved on with his life, and he's no longer going to be Batman, and that he's going to live a life and be with a woman that has given her affection and her heart to him, and he had done the same, and that was a perfect way to end this series. And then, of course, that the last shot you got where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Burke, makes his way into the cave, and then he walks on a platform, and then starts rising, and then he realizes, he's in the Batcave, and that the Batman, Batman will live, and that Gordon, again, played one thing I forgot to mention is Christopher Nolan really grabbed and brought together, because Commissioner Gordon's character was just a side character in the previous films, but he had gotten Gary Oldman, who is another Oscar-winning actor, and I can't see. Now we got some great guys that are playing Commissioner Gordon now. J.K. Simmons and I can't remember who's playing in the new Batman movie. He's playing Gordon. He played Felix in the Bond films, but it's eluding me right now, folks. Sorry, but great actors again playing Commissioner Gordon. But Gary Oldman's performance, he is the epitome of. He put himself into the character and grounded and made him so believable and so likable as Commissioner Gordon. He just nailed his part, and it's hard for me to look at anybody else now playing Commissioner Gordon without comparing it to Gary Oldman's character. And it's a good thing, because the character was just basically non-dimensional, and sadly, because he was being played by a great actor, Pat Hingle, who didn't get to utilize his talent much as Commissioner Gordon. But in the 60s show, he was more of a comedic character, but Commissioner Gordon was gritty. He was a cop who was honest in a corrupt system and had to fight that on top of everything else. But Gary Oldman's performance in this trilogy was, did not skip a beat at all. It was perfect. But again, there was a scene where he's on top of the police headquarters, and then he kind of looks over and he notices the bat symbol is back there after thinking that Batman had died, and then he's looking around and he's got this smile on his face, knowing, okay, I'm not alone anymore. I still have a friend. And would have been interesting if they had kept on and somehow done the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character. Well, if there's HBO Max, I still think there's a way that they can still maybe, or like even the comics. In the comic books, DC's got Batman 89, where they've continued on the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton universe after Batman Returns, and they've done a really great job at that. But who knows? Maybe the Dark Knight trilogy the story arc after Batman or The Dark Knight Rises can continue in comics. But again, this trilogy, it was such a fresh breath of air, and that Nolan kept it grounded. Everybody was wanting a shared universe, and they were actually going to have a Justice League movie that was going to be directed by Mad Max director, and it was going to be called Justice League Immortal, and they actually were going to have 2 Batmans at the same time. Now we've got 3 Batmans at the same time this year. But Christopher Nolan wanted to keep it isolated, its own universe, and I was fine with that. But around this time, Batman, when Dark Knight came out, there was Superman Returns. It didn't do as well as it was supposed to, or fans' reaction was mixed, but people were wanting to see Brandon Routh and Christian Bale's Batman and Brandon Routh's Superman, meet together, and there was so much fan art, posters, teaser posters, and fan-made trailers, but little difficulties there, folks. Still technical difficulties. Sorry for my daughter's big mouth. So anyway, no, but again, there's going to be a whole generation that will looked upon Christian Bale's, because he's been voted as the best Batman. I'm a little mixed about that because I do like Ben Affleck, which I'll talk in the next episode. But I will have to say that this trilogy was so well done, so grounded. The steam kind of came out a little bit in the third one. Of course, Christopher Nolan was probably exhausted because the guy did, I think, 2 films in between each, between Batman and Dark Knight, or Batman Begins, and in between that, Dark Knight, and then he did Inception, then Dark Knight Rises. So I'm sure he was pretty burnt out by the time he got to Dark Knight Rises, so he wasn't really able to get his full, creative juices flowing. But it was a perfect way to end it. Again, if they did do something like that, maybe an animated form or a comic book story arc in the comics somewhere, if its own little contained universe series. But again, Dark Knight trilogy. If you haven't seen any of the Batman films yet, if you're just now getting into it, of course, a lot of people are going to start with The Batman that's coming out soon. But again, check out the Dark Knight trilogy. This series of films is just, this is what filmmaking's all about. And in my estimate, still to this day, almost a decade after it's released, or over a decade after it's released, my viewpoint, my top comic book film of all time, in a list of many, it's always going to top off with The Dark Knight from 2008. That film is my favorite comic book movie. It is one of my favorite films of all time. It's in my top 5. And one day I'll give you my top 5 or top 10 favorite films. But do check it out. I highly recommend checking out Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. All right, folks. That's the end of this episode. It was a long one. I know. I hope everybody was able to hang in there. But please, I highly recommend you subscribe to this channel. Check out all the other videos in the countdown to the Batman. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I really appreciate that. And again, those who are subscribing, thank you so much. Especially if you have made the decision to subscribe while watching the countdown to the Batman series here on the Movie Dawgs show. That means I'm doing something right. I don't know, but all right, folks. Again, like this video, subscribe. Again, thank you all for just watching. I appreciate that a lot. Again, like this video, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, folks. Again, this has been the Movie Dawgs show. This is the countdown to the Batman. We're one more episode down, and we're gonna be done with this, and then eventually we'll get that review of the Batman. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Please keep on watching. Bye.